This happened last week, when my girlfriend Emily and I decided to visit a pumpkin patch just outside of town. We loved the fall season, and picking out the perfect pumpkin was one of our favorite traditions. The sun was setting, casting a warm orange glow over the fields as we arrived. The place was bustling with families and couples, all eager to find their own piece of autumn. We wandered through the rows of pumpkins, laughing and joking about which ones were too lopsided or too small. It was a perfect evening, or so we thought. As we made our way to the far end of the patch, I noticed a man standing alone near the edge of the field. He was tall and wore a long, dark coat that seemed out of place among the cheerful crowd. His eyes followed us as we moved through the pumpkins, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe he was just another customer, but as we continued to explore, I could tell that he was watching us. Emily noticed it too and whispered to me, "Do you see that guy? He's been staring at us for a while now." We decided to ignore him and continued picking out our pumpkins, but every time I glanced in his direction, he was still there, watching us with an unsettling intensity. As the sky darkened and the patch began to empty out, we decided it was time to head home. We paid for our pumpkins and made our way to the car. As we were loading them into the trunk, I saw him again, standing by his car in the parking lot, still watching us. Feeling uneasy, we quickly got into our car and drove off. I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting him to follow us. At first, there was no sign of him, and I began to relax. But then, just as we turned onto the main road, headlights appeared behind us. I tried to convince myself it was just another car heading home from the patch. But when we made a series of right turns to test if he was following us, he mirrored every move. My heart started pounding. Emily looked at me with wide eyes. "What should we do?" she asked. I didn't have an answer. My mind raced as I tried to think of a plan. Suddenly, the car behind us started flashing its lights repeatedly. It was him. There was no doubt about it now. "Don't stop," Emily urged. "Just keep driving." I nodded and pressed down on the gas pedal, trying to put some distance between us and our pursuer. We took random turns through unfamiliar neighborhoods, hoping to lose him in the maze of streets. After what felt like an eternity of driving in circles, his headlights finally disappeared from view. We both let out a sigh of relief as we made our way back home. Once inside our apartment, we double-checked that all the doors were locked and tried to calm down. We sat on the couch in silence for a while, trying to process what had just happened. About 30 minutes later, just as we were starting to relax again, there was a loud knock at the door. We both froze, exchanging nervous glances. "Who could that be?" Emily whispered. I got up slowly and approached the door cautiously. Peering through the peephole, my heart skipped a beat. It was him. The man from the pumpkin patch stood on our doorstep, looking more menacing than ever. I backed away from the door and whispered urgently to Emily, "It's him." Her eyes widened in fear as she grabbed her phone and dialed 911. Meanwhile, I grabbed a kitchen knife for protection and moved back toward the door. The knocking continued, louder this time, and then stopped suddenly. We held our breath as we listened for any signs of movement outside. Minutes felt like hours as we waited for help to arrive. Finally, we heard sirens approaching in the distance. The police arrived quickly and searched the area, but found no trace of him. We filed a report and gave them all the details we could remember about his appearance and behavior at the pumpkin patch. They promised to keep an eye out for him, but warned us that he might not be easy to find without more information. That night was one of the longest nights of my life. Every creak or rustle outside made me jumpy and paranoid. It took weeks before I could sleep soundly again without imagining those piercing eyes watching me from the shadows. We never went back to that pumpkin patch or any other for fear of encountering him again. To this day, I still wonder who he was and what he wanted with us, or what he planned on doing to us.